Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
On behalf of Whitetail Rendezvous, this is your host, Bruce Hutchin, and I want to say thank you to everybody for making 2016 a banner year. Why? Because we went over 100,000 iTunes downloads. Why? Because we had over 300 guests on the show. And talking about the show, sometimes my guests are in a tree stand, sitting in a pickup truck on the top of a hill, or just don't have great bandwidth to pick up the recording. So I apologize for that. We're doing the best we can, but this is a real show with real people in real places.
This is Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast, episode number 311.
Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, and we're going to visit with Tom Denney. He and his partner, Darren Woods, have created WoodsnWater Addiction. What's WoodsnWater Addiction? Well, it's about hunting, it's fishing, it's about being in outdoors. And they got quite a crew that they go around the country, meet some great people, and learn about the outdoors each time they go out. He's got some great tips on the buck he took this fall in the rut. And you want to listen. He gave away his stand so somebody else could sit in it. He had a guest, gave it away, went and sit at another stand, and guess what? He put down a monster buck. Hey, listeners, don't forget to text 33444 Food Plot for your free Food Plot ebook. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. It's Christmas time, folks, and everybody's getting ready, but thanks for taking some time and listening to the show today. We're going to visit with Tom Denney from Jackson County, Ohio. Tom is the founder of WoodsnWater Addiction. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Thanks, Bruce. It's always an honor to be able to sit down and have a conversation with you.
Hey, you ready for Christmas, man?
I am. We've wrapped up our shopping. We've got a few little things to get to fill the kids' stockings, but other than that, I think we are done.
Well, congratulations to you, sir. Likewise,
Thank you.
Likewise, in this guy, we had early Christmas because Kathy and I are heading out to my daughter's house for a few days, and so we're going to have two Christmases. So that's going to be really fun.
Yeah. Well, I hope you have a good one and have safe travels.
Thank you, sir. So let's talk about 2016. In your bio, you sent me a picture of a gorgeous deer, mature deer, got a lot of bone, got a little crab claw going, some trash. Let's walk us through this 2016 buck.
Yeah, I mean, it was truly just a blessing. This buck this was a hunt like nothing else. None I've ever had. Had some of the guys came in from Florida, and of course, we've been scouting different properties all year long, and have some really good bucks on camera. And this piece of property in particular was belonged to a friend of mine, and we had been had permission to hunt it for several years, and just never put a whole lot of time into it. And it was just another spot, to put somebody in. When all these guys come in, we were struggling, trying to put people in different places so that it wasn't crowded and put them on good deer. And we hadn't done much. Of course, I put minerals out, over on this property, and we already had the tree stands there. And I guess, it's just a piece of property that hadn't had any pressure. We hadn't really been in there doing much. And those guys was all here hunting, and, I asked them, I said, hey, somebody could go over here and sit in this stand. And nobody seemed to want to, because I guess, we had pictures of deer on all these other stands. So I thought, what, if you guys aren't going to go there, I'll just, I had one of the guys on the team that was hunting a neighboring property, and I dropped him off there, and I thought, well, I'll just drive down here, and I'll go sit in this stand today. And lo and behold, I was in the stand about 20 minutes, and he come cruising through and give me the opportunity, and I took the shot. And like you said, he's a really good deer. Got a lot of character, and just one that I'm proud of. Proud to have him, and he's a taxidermist right now. I can't wait to get him back.
Well, tell us how you knew he was there. Let's go back and unpack, summertime, if you had long-range scouting on him, if you had him in your tree stand, on your trail cameras. How do you know he was there?
Actually, I didn't. I had never seen this deer. Like I said, we had cameras and things out, and we had pictures of some other good bucks that, we had on our hit list. But this was November 7th. Our rut was just coming in. And like I said, I wasn't really prepared to hunt that stand. We had done some early season preparations, and had cameras out, but just hadn't really been in there much to scout it out. And went back after we killed him, and went back through our trail camera pictures. Never had one picture of this deer. And of course, after we was lucky enough to take this deer and it got put on the internet and on Facebook and on our sites, had a local guy message me on Facebook and was asking me where I killed that deer. And of course, you don't like to give up that kind of information right off the bat. But got to talking to him, and he lived about 3.5 miles away from this piece of property, and he had pictures of this deer. He had this deer patterned. It was on his camera, coming to a feeder twice a day, and he never had the opportunity to get a shot on this deer. Well, like I said, our rut was just coming in, and when I came into the stand that morning, I tried to cover my scent and went in and put some deer urine on some hot doe deer urine on some scent wicks, and just I put 2 of those out, facing the wind direction, and I literally no more got in the stand and got settled, and I just seen movement, and it just happened to be the tips of antlers. He come across the field edge, and come through around a big pine tree, and he was just right on top of me at 25 yards.
Holy freight! He couldn't have been a couple of yards from you when you're going into your stand.
No, he couldn't have been. There's a really big bedding area, probably 300 yards or so from where my stand is, and he come from that area, just cruising along a field edge, and I think he got to where he got wind of those scent wicks, and he had that nose in the air and was coming right for one of those scent wicks. He didn't look, didn't stop, he had no idea I was anywhere around, and I don't think at that point he didn't care. He was on a mission.
There's some interesting tips for everybody. One, he got in the stand quietly, put out some scent, which you should do. Did you rattle or grunt or bleat or anything?
I just started done a few bleat calls, and he was responsive to that. I mean, he came just that fast. It all happened so fast, Bruce. I mean, it's one of those deer that, with as much of experience as I have in the outdoors and as many times as I've hunted, if I'd have had to watch that deer with all the character of his rack come from 50 or 60 yards, I'd have probably been shaking so bad I don't know if I'd have hit him. But you know what I mean? Your nerves take over and you try to be calm.
True story.
But he just popped up there so fast, and I knew he was a good mature buck, and he gave me the opportunity to step into a window at 25 yards, and I took the shot, and it was a successful shot.
Now let's get back to your, initially you said, you're checking around, and a couple of 3 miles away, your neighbor had him on trail camera, so he was thinking that guy was just hanging right around his place, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, and that's we've talked before. The rut. I like to hunt the early season. When you do your homework and you check your trail cameras and manage your property right, you can put these deer and you can pretty much get them patterned. But come November, when that rut hits, them deer are going to travel. They're going to break their patterns. They're going to go to other properties, and I mean that just shows 3.5 miles from this boy's feeder in his backyard, basically, to where I killed the deer. and that deer traveled that far and just searching for does. I'm confident that he was just searching and he come around, kicking around that bedding area, and he got wind of the scent that I put out and come looking.
I think about, okay, we got dominant bucks, and people write about dominant bucks that kind of stake out, and they'll have sometimes community scrapes or whatever. There's a lot of activity in a given area. Now, what causes that buck? He's a mature buck. He looked like a badass to me. Why would he leave?
Well, probably, the feeding patterns of the does, just the pressure, maybe the neighboring properties had already had a lot of pressure in the early season, just kind of pushed them out. He was in unfamiliar territory. He was a regular, and the boy that I was talking to that had all the pictures, he sent me pictures. He probably sent me 100 trail camera pictures of this deer. And I apologized to him. I said, "Man, I'm sorry. You put your work in and you had this deer patterned." And he said, "No, I'm just, I'm glad someone got the opportunity." And he said, "But he said it's funny how those deer will travel." And I kind of told him the same thing. He's a younger fellow, hadn't been into hunting for a long time. And I said, I've had the majority of my success has been early season, because I like to get out and spend time in the woods and check my cameras and just study what these deer are doing, how they're moving, and then pick out my hit list deer. I said, but when you do that, once the rut comes, and then in Ohio, our rut typically hits second week, November, and then right after that, you get into shotgun season, and that just, that puts a lot of pressure in the woods, and they just break their patterns. They'll go to neighboring properties where there's no pressure. They move around a lot.
Yes, they do, and it's amazing. I think I said this last time I was hunting in Iowa, and probably about 5,000 acres all in, different farms, and one of my friends was sitting just in a blind in a food plot afternoon, and 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, way before dark, he sees this buck trying to saunter in. And when they saunter, they got an attitude, and they're a mature buck. They're just not worried about anything. You let it come and come. Realize high time buck, heavy mass, big deer, and he first saw it 200 yards out, if you will, and then he just came up and 83 yards. He shot him right through the neck. And he can shoot that well, so it was no big deal with a muzzleloader for him. Just put him down, and buck never moved. And so he walked out to it and went, "Oh my goodness!" It was a 190 plus gross deer, and he didn't have that many deductions. And it was just nobody had seen him. Now these are people that have been on the ground September, October, November, and we were hunting later December, and they had been on the ground doing everything, never seen that deer. They talked to neighbors, nobody ever seen it, and there is some private ground and river bottom, blah blah blah, but nobody had seen this deer. And magnificent, 190 class deer is a good deer any place in North America, and it just marvels us that here's with all the trail cameras, with all the hunters, with people in the woods, with driving dirt roads at night, somebody would have seen him. Nope. And he just sauntered in. Bruce was telling the story. He said, he didn't have a care in the world. He's just kind of looking around. He knew where he's going. He's going to check out. It was brassicas and stuff in the food plot. Maybe come in for a quick lunch before or late afternoon snack. And it's just, he said it was unbelievable. But that deer was not skittish. Not, his ears weren't flipping. Radaring. Just hanging out, coming in for a snack.
That's how they get that big. They're a very smart animal, and that's what makes them so fun to pursue. It's just to try to study them and their habits, and the guys that are out there that aren't having much success and are having a hard time. Do your homework. You're in unfamiliar territory. When you're going in the woods, you're going into his house. And he knows that a whole lot better than we do. But do your work, control your scent, and just, you got to blend in. It's unreal, the senses of these animals, of how well they can smell, see, hear, and just detect, your presence.
And that's lesson learned, folks. Sometimes it's hard for us all, especially during the rut. You're doing all-day sits, and you just say, "Man, I haven't seen mahogany buck. I haven't seen the splitter. I haven't seen long tines. I haven't seen double drops, or whatever you name your deer." And gee, he was here. We got trail cameras, but he might not be there simply because they rotate. I hunt a river bottom quite a bit, so they rotate up and down that river bottom. They get up on tops in the corn. They're looking for does, and just as they're spinning around, there's other bucks that you would never seen 2-3 miles away, and they're spinning around also. And so that's why the rut's so much fun, is because you never know who's going to show up.
Right, and that's happened to me twice this year with that 13-point non-typical that you're talking about. And then we've got a small piece of property. It's just 26 acres that belongs to my family. And we kind of just, we built a shooting house. It's insulated. And we kind of set that up and manage that just for the kids in the family. And I have a lot of kids, friends of my kids and neighborhood kids and everybody that I try to keep interested. And we kind of keep this piece of property set aside just for these kids, and we manage it. And I had 4 shooter bucks that was on the hit list this year. That I was hoping to get some of these kids on, and especially my 9-year-old. I killed a good deer this year. He killed his first deer this year, but after he got his hands on that one of mine, he said, "Dad, I've got to have one of these bucks." So we're working hard to try to get him on one, and we're out here, and so I've got these bucks that we've been watching all year, and got hundreds of pictures of them, and we're out there sitting in this tree house the other night. I mean, it's an elevated blind. And here comes a 10-point, real wide, got some decent mass, and I've never seen this deer. Don't have any pictures. I went back through my cameras, checked every camera, and all the pictures, and no pictures of this deer at all. And I'm lucky enough that I have friends that own the neighboring property, and we talk and compare pictures, and a lot of times we see the same deer on our cameras, and we got to looking through his pictures and stuff, and he had no pictures of this deer. But there's state land, about 4,000 acres of state land just across the road, and behind my property there that, who knows what's in there. There's probably deer in there that have never, been in the human eyesight. It's so much area, so big, and it's not pressured a lot. The state of Ohio, they don't allow any 4-wheeler or ATV traffic on this property. So if you're going to hunt it, you're going to hike. And, I believe that all the pressure is just on the edges of this property. And when these deer get into the rut and they're looking for new food sources and stuff late in the season, they travel. And it's amazing how far they will travel.
Yeah. So everybody just take some notes and start the way I said it. Go out 3-5 miles. In some places that's easy. Other places that can be difficult because of the section roads and stuff like that. Topography messes that up. But, and touch base, take some soda, take a beer, take fresh apples, take a pie, I don't know, take donuts. But start making friends with these people, because if you can get a 5-mile radius around them, and what you do is say, hey, here's the bucks I've been picking up this summer. And the reason I'm showing you, if they do show up, then could you just call me? And if you put them down, good for you. But if you see them or send them a trail camera, could you just text me at this number? And the reason why, I want to see how far my deer are going. I want to see where your deer are going. And just say, what's in it for you? If you see the deer and stuff, well, let's go have a beer or a cup of coffee or hamburger, whatever. But I think if you did that, all of a sudden you'd collectively 5 miles, square, 5 mile radius, that's a lot of land. But if the bucks are traveling that far, you really want to know where your bucks are going and how far they're moving around, because then you've got a really good sense of, okay, if he disappears, I do not see him, he's not laid up, he's 2 or 3 miles away on a different farm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's part of doing your homework. I mean, you want to understand what these deer are doing, how far they're traveling, where their food source is, where their bedding areas is, and more importantly, you want to know, what time of day, and that's what that's the good thing about trail cameras, helping you pattern these deer, not just to see what you've got, but to pattern them. If you don't have to go out and do an all-day sit because this deer is consistently coming past your stand at 4:30 in the afternoon, then there's really no need to be there all day long, especially for guys that are working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. If he's got this, good mature deer that he wants to harvest coming past his tree stand at 4:30 in the afternoon, if he can get off of work at 3 and get dressed and get his things together and get in the tree stand, he can be there. He's done his work all year to pattern this deer. He doesn't have to sit there all day and wait. He knows what time that deer is coming through.
And, lessons learned and great tips, because you just have to be there when the deer's coming through. And that's why people wait. But if you have, knowledge and can figure it out, it just, one, saves you a lot of time. Plus, you're making maximum use of your time. I know a couple of guys that, they've got on their farm about 6 different stands. They know the right wind to hit the stand. They get the trail cameras on their stand. And so once they see a deer, I'm going to say 2 times, 3 times, same time of day, in light time, they go, okay, with the wind the same, everything the same, he should come by there. So they slip in there real quiet and take the shot. Because if the deer isn't pushed, he's going to keep doing what he's doing. Your thoughts?
That's right. You're exactly right. And one thing I want to say, I kind of get off topic here, but go back to the trail cameras and the guys doing their homework, and I touched a little bit on the guys that are working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. We all watch the TV shows and watch all these guys that do this for a living, and they're hunting 160, 180, and 200-inch deer. Well, that's a once in a lifetime for some of us, and for the guys that are working, like I said, 40 hours or more a week and have limited time to get in the woods, that's a professional's trophy. I mean, it would be anybody's trophy. But if you can go out and put your work in and manage your property, and you're doing your homework on these deer, and you have the opportunity to harvest a younger buck or, just a call deer, one that you want out of the herd. Well, if you've put your time in and you've done the homework and you've enjoyed that hunt, that's your trophy. That's still a deer to be proud of. These guys that, I think the TV just gives the image that you have to hunt 160-inch or bigger buck for it to be a true trophy, and that's not the truth. Your deer is your trophy, no matter how much bone it's got on its head. My 9-year-old shot his first deer this year, and it was a doe, and that meant as much to him as the buck that I killed. It's his trophy.
Yeah, and well said. Hey, Tom, how does somebody get a hold of you at WoodsnWater Addiction?
You can message me on Facebook, on my private page, or we've got a website and a Facebook page. The Facebook page would be just www.facebook.com/Woods, the letter N, Water Addiction, and then we have our websites, www.WoodsnWaterAddiction.com. And then I also have an email that is just, it's tommainbeam@gmail.com. It's TOMMAINBEAM@gmail.com. Those are probably some of the best ways. I check those pretty much every day, and have a lot of people that talk to me on Messenger, Instant Messenger, and things on Facebook, and I'm usually pretty good about answering everybody's questions. And I've met a lot of great people through this, in this industry, just through social media and just talking to the guys. The WoodsnWater team, we've grown so much and it's doing great. And we've got a lot of people following what we do, and people hit me up and send me messages all the time.
Well, that's how we met, and I enjoy social media because we're all sitting around the campfire in common ground, and we're sharing stories, we're sharing tips. So I like that a lot. Let's talk more about WoodsnWater Addiction. What kind of show is it, and where's it air, and how do people get involved if they want to?
Well, we're always looking for people to get involved and help us get to that next level. We don't actually have a TV show yet. We have a YouTube channel that we've got some videos on. We've been offered some airtime. It's just trying to get everything together and get. We're still on a building stage with this, and trying to get all of our footage put together and formatted to where we have enough to run a couple seasons. We don't want to be a one-hit wonder. We don't want to run one season and have a bunch of reruns and that kind of thing. So we're just trying to stockpile, get all of our footage put together, edit it, get it formatted to where it needs to be, and probably next year, we'll put something out. But for now, we're putting stuff on our website and on our Facebook pages, and we have a YouTube channel as well.
What's the name of the YouTube channel?
It's just WoodsnWater Addiction.
All right.
You can go on YouTube and just type that in, and you can find us.
Let's talk about kids in the outdoors. You mentioned your son, but what else you're doing with kids in the outdoors? I'm glad you asked that, because that's something I'm really passionate about. It's that's our future. That's the future of this this passion that we all have, and what we like to do. It's to get the kids, for me and for most of the people that I talk to, hunting, it's been a family tradition for generations. It's something that's been passed down from, I know my dad and my grandpa, introduced me to it when I was just little, and just hearing their stories, of the late night coon hunts and rabbit hunting and squirrel hunting, and it just, for them, it was more than just a passion or a hobby. It was a way of life. A lot of the old timers, that's how they fed their families, and just to continue that legacy and see the younger kids to get involved and want to learn. And for me, I've got kids of my own, and naturally, they've always trailed behind me and been in the woods, a lot, and they've talked to their friends. And, my boys have some friends that, come from broken up homes and a little less fortunate, and just doesn't really have anybody to take them out and show them these kind of things. And I've always enjoyed doing my part and sharing that with those kids. And I've bought bows. I've took kids out and teach them how to shoot a bow and a gun, and took them hunting and watched several harvest their first deer or their first squirrel. We take them fishing. It's just that's the next generation of what we do, and to be able to pass that on. For me, that's my legacy. Is maybe you'll be doing one of these interviews, or some years down the road, and you ask someone how they got into this, and maybe my name will come up. That would be a legacy, and I hope I live long enough to hear that. That's for sure. Say, the family tradition, you shared a little bit about that, but let's finish up with that, and then you can have time for a shout out.
Yeah. Like I said, my whole family has been hunting for years, and some of my fondest memories is squirrel hunting with my grandpa and deer hunting with my dad, and just learning, being out in the woods and them showing me different things, and just spending that time. That's a good time to bond, a good time to learn things about one another, and just pass down that tradition of hunting. I'm sure it's more than just me and my family. A lot of people that I've talked to, can kind of relate and tell you the same story. Some of the best stories is, that time me and my dad was deer hunting, or me and my grandpa was here, and we was, chasing this big buck, and you hear a lot of stories that start like that, and that's something that you want to see carry on for years and years to come.
Well, thanks for that. And we're at the time of the show. Why don't you give some shout-outs, and then we'll wrap the show, Tom.
Okay. First, I just want to say thanks to you for having me on. It's always an opportunity. It's a great opportunity, and it's good to get to know you and talk with you. But, I just want to say thanks to the good Lord above for giving us everything that we know is the great outdoors. And my wife, Jackie, and our children, the whole family, they've shared this with me and supported me and sacrificed different things to give me the opportunity to hunt and fish and just to enjoy this ride. But, I need to thank the whole team at WoodsnWater Addiction and all of our friends, followers that support us, our sponsors. And I want to say one thing about our sponsors is, we don't have a TV show. We don't have companies that are putting money behind us to sell their products. The sponsors that we have relationships with. We use their products because we've had success with it. We believe in it. And just to give a quick shout out to those guys, Spy Point cameras, Black Eagle arrows, Whack-'em broadheads, Slay scent eliminator, Kicks choke tubes, and Plythol with the photophage technology, U-Slide bow holder, what's holding your bow, It's Me Time decals, and Rio Archery in Rio Grande, Ohio, and SRB field rests. And I want to thank my good friend Jamie Rollins all the way down in Florida for all his talent and hard work of doing our taxidermy work.
Well, on behalf of Whitetail Rendezvous across North America and globally, we got listeners across the globe. Thank you so much, Tom Denney from WoodsnWater Addiction, for being a guest. And again, Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Bruce. Hope you have a good one. And I want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to to everybody out there listening to it. I appreciate you having me on, and stay in touch.
Hey, folks, we got a really neat show coming up with Ron Tabor. Ron's from Mooresville, North Carolina, the heart and soul of NASCAR in the Lake Norman area. And Ron loves to hunt whitetails, loves to hunt ducks, chase hogs, and call in a turkey or two. And he's got a lot of stuff going on. He's writing a book called 333 Awakening, a spiritual journey through the revelation of numbers. Plus, he's got One Mission Outdoor TV. Ron has it going on, and you're going to thoroughly enjoy the show.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.